Bill Young is a military veteran who's now a Republican candidate for the 1st Congressional District. He tells me what he'll work on if he's elected to that particular seat for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook.
Bill Young, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Yeah, hey, good morning, and thanks for having me.
You are a South Carolina 1st Congressional District Republican candidate and a Marine Corps Iraq veteran. So tell me, what got you from serving our country to now saying that you want to serve our country in Washington?
You know, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I never stopped serving our veteran community. And when that goes from helping build a homeless shelter for veterans in Butner, North Carolina, to moving to Charleston, helping with outdoor recreational therapy for our veterans. Unfortunately, I've had 12 of my colleagues from the Marine Corps take their life, so veteran mental health is very important to me. And also when it comes to really joining the Marine Corps in foreign policy is very important to me, and I also feel that Congress has had this long-term incoherent foreign policy for years. And we're going to win when it comes to what's going on in the Middle East right now in Russia. You know, Trump had peace through the projection of strength. We need to get back to that when it comes to Congress. We need to take back the power of foreign policy. And then also, as an economics major from NC State with a financial background, you know, I see what's going on with our economy, and I also feel like I can bring a lot of comprehensive solutions to our nation, not just the economy, but really throughout with the border, economy, veterans, military, you know, education, all of it. I feel like I can bring comprehensive solutions and common sense solutions as well without political rhetoric.
Let me ask you this, man. When did you move to Charleston?
So I moved here to Charleston in 2018, and I grew up in South Carolina, born and raised right here on Lake Murray in Columbia, and joined the Marine Corps, and then went to NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina after the Marine Corps.
And how long have you been living in the 1st Congressional District?
For 5 years now.
Yes, sir. And what has been the biggest difference about that particular district in the past 5 years?
Well, you know, Nancy Mace came in I believe 2020, and you know, she was the right person at the right time. Unfortunately, she has become very wishy-washy. Nobody really knows where she stands for. I see her give a lot of lip service to our veterans. She's on the Armed Forces Services Committee. She's also on the VA committee. And, you know, I really don't see a lot of progress there. Unfortunately, the Office of Inspector General states that 80% of our facilities at the VA nationally are understaffed when it comes to mental health and nursing. And I really don't see her trying to take a large approach at trying to fix that. And when you look at our military as well, our naval fleet is decreasing.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But in this particular district, 1st Congressional District, how many VA hospitals do we have, and how many of those are actually available right now?
Yeah, so we've got the Ralph H. Johnson VA right here in Charleston, and then we have a lot of satellite facilities. And, you know, if you look at the VA Office of Inspector General report here at the Ralph Johnson VA, it is also understaffed. But the good thing is we've got really good people in Charleston. The hospitality is good. We got hard workers, and you know they're working with our nurses. I mean, it's about 1 to 6 to 7 patients per nurse, whereas in the private sector it's about 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So they're underpaid and they're overworked, and they're paid in the same amount that Columbia is paid. So they're not paid locality. So that cost of living pay doesn't really go to help what they should be getting paid for at the cost of living here in Charleston, and that's going to affect recruiting and retention as well.
So what is that recruiting and retention rate right now?
Well, you know, right now the recruiting and retention rate, they need more. When you look at our mental health staff, they've got 2 psychiatrists and 5 social workers. And we've got over 100,000 veterans when it comes to mental health. And so I'll tell you, there's a huge need when it comes to getting on more mental health workers. We also need to expand VA choice when that's community care, so that they can go get access in the community. And that's here and nationally. And then, you know, we got a lot more issues when it comes to just the VA and veterans and military. We've got the border as well. Every state right now has a border problem, and we really need to work. You know, I feel like Nancy Mace is the bare minimum when we're looking at the border. You know, yeah, we got to end catch and release. We got to reinstate remain in Mexico, and we got to finish the wall. But when it comes to that, we also got to look at the Darien Gap, which is the Colombia-Panama border. The Panama president wants to help shut that down. Nancy Mace's solution is the Triangle Asylum Cooperation Agreement, which is just holding foreign aid over Central American countries' heads, and one to offer asylum. And once they continue to offer them asylum, they're going to ask for more money. And when we stop giving them more money, they're going to stop giving them asylum. It's not a long-term solution.
And I want to get to that in depth in just a second. But let me go back. That retention and obviously recruiting rate, what's the biggest difference about that from 2020 to right now?
Yeah, well, the VA has done this thing called, it's a fancy word, and they call it decentralization of HR at the VA. And what it really is centralization of HR. And so if you had 3 or 4 VA facilities in a region, they take HR from those facilities and they centralize it to a certain area. They put it at one area. And so when we're interviewing nurses and mental health staff or just any candidates in general, that VA site will interview them initially. And then afterwards, the follow-up will go to these HR sites. And it'll take 6 to 9 months for them to follow up with a candidate. Well, if you work in the if you work in the medical community, you're not going to wait 6 to 9 months to hear back if you're hired or if there's another interview. You're going to get a job offer pretty quickly in the private sector, and you're going to get paid more, and you're going to get worked less.
How many of those HR sites are there here in South Carolina?
Well, so the thing is there's the HR side, I would say, is probably more towards Georgia.
Okay. And when it comes to that community choice bill, where exactly can that be here in Charleston, and what resources do we have right now to make certain that happens?
Yeah, so VA Choice is, what that does is it gives access to veterans in community care. So the VA will say, let's say, for instance, an example of holistic pain management, acupuncture, right? Because we want to get our veterans away from a lot of taking opioids and painkillers and gabapentin. So when it comes to acupuncture, they have been sending a lot of veterans out to an acupuncturist. Well, there's a facility in West Ashley that started to really grow their practice based on serving veterans. And they went from just being barely filling up the first floor to then filling up 2 floors. And you had to schedule out within, if you didn't schedule all of your 12 visits out when you first got there, you'd be waiting 3 to 4 weeks just to be seen again. And so she got really busy. Then in the last 6 to 12 months, the VA has started to pull all of that VA Choice patients back. And they're saying that they can't send them out because they want to do that at the VA. Well, unfortunately, the VA here in Charleston only has 2 acupuncturists. So they can't go out and get that holistic treatment, and they're not going to be able to get it at the VA because it's understaffed. But the VA doesn't want that money leaving the VA bureaucracy. And that's a big part of the problem is at Congress, we need to be investigating, inspecting what we expect on the VA when we put forth initiatives and directives for VA Choice, that we make sure that the VA isn't trying to sabotage that. Because we can look at organizations like Concerned Veterans of America who have put forth case studies and evidence that have shown the VA does not want VA Choice to succeed.
So how much money would actually leave if that goes to a bureaucracy, for instance?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say how much it would leave because there's so many different things. And you would really start to see, though, a lot of patients getting better care because it's not just, well, I'm going to put them here and in 30 days, because a lot of times they cook books, they'll say, oh, well, we can get them an appointment in 30 days, and then they'll cancel it, and then they'll reschedule it. And so it's more about getting the veteran the actual care. It's hard to say how much money would actually leave because, I mean, there's a huge opportunity there for veterans to go get care out in the community.
Yes, sir. And that's my next question. So how many people in your district are actually using opioids versus getting that acupuncture here in West Ashley?
Yeah, so, due to the HIPAA Act, et cetera, it would be very difficult. I can't state, who all is taking opioids, et cetera. But given the fact that I am a veteran and I interact with a lot of veterans, in the last 5 to 10 years, the VA likes to give out opioids, and even right now they like to push forward gabapentin, et cetera, which is a nerve block, and it has long-term side effects, and that's been a lot of the trend is just give them gabapentin and give it to them for 20 to 40 years.
Oof, 20, 40 years. So what other, medical procedures or medical pills, that is, are they actually using besides opioids?
Ask that question again, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Sorry about the feedback. Besides opioids, what else are these veterans using to actually get care for their back or other issues?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, there's holistic, there's physical
Right,
therapy,
right, right.
there's acupuncture, there's dry needling, there's outdoor recreational therapy. Those are the types of things, and then you have surgery, etc.
Right.
But yeah, but we don't want to be invasive. We want to keep them, if we can, and myself as well, out of invasive treatments. But I don't want to make this whole interview about VA, because there are things that we want to do VA reform, and those are things that are important. But we also have other demographics in the district that are important as well. But VA reform is a huge thing in my platform, and it's a very important topic.
Yeah, got to ask the follow-up questions. That's what I do as an award-winning journalist. But let me, as a disclaimer, I'm going to be reaching out to Nancy May soon. Catherine Templeton folks declined an interview. They say they're not going to be doing any more interviews with the media for the primary, but if she gets into the general election, she'll do an interview with me. And let me ask you this. Is the southern border issue both a security and health issue?
Is it a security and health issue? Is that what you asked?
Exactly right.
It is definitely a security issue in the fact that, we've got individuals, military-age males from China, Georgia, Middle Eastern countries coming into South America, and they're migrating up through the Darien Gap, that Central American, South American border, Colombia, Panama, and they're heading to America. And so when we talk about a health issue, I mean, it's a drain on our infrastructure. And it's, we see that there is violent crime from some of these individuals. And so we've really got to make sure that the people who want to come here legally, we've got to encourage and incentivize legal migration. We got to revolutionize our immigration system. We got to empower our immigration judges. Right now we've got a courthouse in Texas that has 9 judges and 200,000 cases amongst them, and they need a team. They have one law clerk working for 9 judges with 200,000 cases. I mean, that's unsatisfactory. A lot of these administrations want to just say, well, we'll hire more immigration judges. Well, if you don't give them a team, we're not going to work through the over 8 million individuals who are in our immigration system, right? And so we do need to work on that. We need to incentivize legal migration. We've got to shut the border down in the sense of we got to end catch and release, reinstate remain in Mexico, and finish the wall. Right? We've got to do those things, but that's the bare minimum. And that's why I talked about with the Darien Gap in Colombia. And it's important, and it's a differentiator from Nancy Mace's policies when I talk about that Triangle Asylum Cooperation Agreement, because what she's doing is old policies. Listen, Trump had some good immigration policies, but in 2019, 2020, only 30,000 people crossed the Darien Gap border. Okay? And so now we've got 500,000 people crossing that border, and they're all heading to America. And it's 113,000 of them are kids. And that's going to be a drain on our education system as well. And so we've really got to look at, I mean, as an economics major, we look at significant variables and statistics. We had over 2 million individuals cross our border illegally that we know of last year. So 500,000 is 25% of that number. And it's already estimated that, in the month of May, where we're at right now, that number has increased by 75%. So, by 50%. So we're looking at 750,000 people crossing that border heading to America this year.
Now, how many of those people do you expect to come here to South Carolina?
Well, they coming all over the place. So I would say probably it's tough to say a certain number, but it's a drain on our infrastructure. We have, I believe they said just in 2018 we had 9,000 undocumented kids in our school system. So that was 2019. So you could say that there's going to be even more that are going to be coming into our school system now. There's geo-satelliting where they do that people from NGOs, where these people are coming into the border and they're being dispersed among all the districts in America. And so they're going all over the place. They're coming here. They're going to Georgia. I mean, it's everywhere. And so, we've got to take a look at this, and we've got to make sure that we are, again, incentivizing legal migration.
So what incentives would you propose if you were in Congress today?
Well, like I said, we got to change our immigration system. 60% of it is done through paper. We got to get that we got to modernize that. And we also have to, like I said, empower our immigration judges. We can't work through these people who come here legally if they have to wait 5 years for their first court case. Why are you going to come legally if I tell you you can just come in and wait 5 years for your court case and probably never show up. And so those are the things we've just got to make the system more efficient. We got to make it more of a timely manner so these people can be encouraged to come here. And also, when it comes at the federal level, we do not need to be letting certain sanctuary cities using federal dollars to help illegal immigrants financially. When we've got veterans who are homeless, we got other individuals who are homeless, and we're allowing, and they're trying to allow, individuals to use certain VAs. And so that's wrong. And we need to make sure that we are encouraging people to come here legally, but that we're not incentivizing them through handouts.
Now, how much federal funding has been used in these sanctuary cities?
Billions. It's been billions.
And how long has that been year to date?
Year to date, you said how long has that been year to date?
Yes, sir.
That's been going on for years. It's not just year to date. It's been going on for a while now. And, it needs to stop. And when I go around the district and we talk with individuals who came here legally, they went through the 15 to 20-year process. They're not happy with that. They're not happy with the fact that people are coming here and that they're getting benefits that they're just getting handouts. Like, there's people that came here, they worked their hard, they got their citizenship, and they came the right way. And so, again, that's why I'm saying we've got to encourage legal migration where people come here the right way and they're contributing to society.
Now, if you're in Congress today, how would you actually pass a comprehensive immigration reform so that employers in your district can actually hire workers they need who can then pay taxes and actually lift up the entire country?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I'll tell you, it would be by encouraging Speaker Johnson bring a bill to the House and let us pass amendments, right? Because when that bill came from the Senate, that a lot of people are hitting Nancy Mace on, there's certain things that I wouldn't like in that bill either. But let's have a conversation and let's make amendments to those bills at the House level. For instance, I didn't like the fact that they tried to take asylum management from our immigration judges and they tried to put it towards the USCIS. And that's wrong. We don't need to do that. They also tried to put a ceiling on how many people can cross the border a day. I don't like that either. So those are things that I wouldn't have voted for either, and I would have asked for amendments on that and had a conversation and a dialogue so that we can all come together and get some things passed. Because we need to get things done and not hold them over people's head as a political pawn.
So how many immigration judges do we actually have here in South Carolina that can stop some of this?
Well, when it comes to immigration judges in South Carolina, they are building an immigration courthouse in Charlotte to represent this area. So that's important. And it's important because, when it comes to our immigration judges, it's not about expanding our immigration judges. It's about expanding their team. They need a team. Like, whether we have 5, 10, 20 in South Carolina or however we have in any state, it doesn't matter unless they have a team. And they rate an in-court assistant, an out-of-court assistant, and a law clerk. And there's no way, like I'm going to state again, that we're going to be able to get through that backlog of it over 8 million individuals who have come here illegally if we don't have a team who can work through that. Because, again, it's 5 years at least right now on average for an individual to be seen for their first court case. And that does not incentivize legal migration.
Yeah, and I want to get back to that in just a second. But your opponent, current United States Congresswoman Nancy Mace, said this recently on X, quote, "Our border security bill, that is, just passed our Judiciary Committee. Our Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act is headed to the House floor. Big wins for securing the border and putting the low country first," she says. But isn't it already illegal to hit women? Or is it illegal for illegal immigrants, and that's why we actually need a new law?
And, I would agree with you. It's already illegal to be violent against the women. And we've got to focus on not political rhetoric, not pandering. We've got to focus on enforcing the laws that are already in place, right? If we enforce the laws that are already in place and we enforce if we enforce the laws that are in place and we give the resources to enforce those, like I said, empowering our immigration judges and, enforcing and giving resources to our Customs Border Patrol agent as well and securing that border, we wouldn't have to worry about this. And if we also worked with Panama and even Tariff Colombia to shut that border down, we'd stop a lot of the violent migrants that are coming potentially over to our country. And, I feel like Nancy Mace, what she likes to do, her legislative strategy is when it comes to policy. She likes to act like she's putting forth like 40 to 60 bills and take noodles, wet noodles, throw them at the wall and sees what sticks. And it sounds great. She likes to do the bare minimum and do all this stuff that sounds great and use her master's in mass communication from Georgia to communicate these things as grand achievements. But at the end of the day, it doesn't accomplish anything. I mean, she's been in Congress now for 4 years, and I think she's put forth 60 bills, and one of them has passed, and it was to rename a post office. So when it comes to effective leadership, Nancy Mace isn't really getting things done.
And I hope to get her on Quintin close to respond to that. But in your mind, Bill, do you believe this is an overblown HR2 bill?
An overblown HR2 bill. What? Can you be more specific?
Yeah, the original HR2 bill. Is that kind of similar to that, but overblown?
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's overblown. I just think that we're doing a lot of political rhetoric here. And like I said, the bill that came from the Senate just a few months ago, I think we should have taken that, looked at amendments at the House, had a conversation, and made amendments to that. And, those are the things I want to talk about is solutions. Not all just criticizing and calling names out and making these accusations, but looking at solutions and not holding things over as a political piece that to wait for a while. And we need to find solutions now. We don't need to wait. Unfortunately, Nancy Mace is wanting to wait until the next president comes in. And yes, I do support President Trump, but I do feel that Nancy Mace cut a deal that she doesn't want to get these things done until President Trump comes in office. And unfortunately, our constituents in our country are paying the price for that.
So what most conservative border package from the Senate would you actually vote for if you're in Congress today?
Well, I would vote for a bill that puts forward reinstating Remain in Mexico, ending catch and release, empowering our immigration judges, not delegating asylum out to the USCIS. We've got to make sure that our immigration judges are taking care of that. We need to get the UN out of our immigration policy. The UN is trying to teach our immigration judges to turn the blind eye to what's happening. And so we've got to get the UN out of that. Those are the types of things that I want to see in our border bill. And that's a non-starter. Those things have to be in there. We can't have a ceiling for crossings. We can't have asylum being delegated out of our immigration justice system. It's got to stay there. Our immigration judges there for a reason.
So what other UN policies from an immigration standpoint are actually hurting constituents right now?
Well, when it comes to the UN, I mean, they're sitting there telling our immigration judges that they should just let these people come and not to prosecute them for crossing the border illegally. And that's wrong. That is absolutely wrong. We are a country of laws. We have to enforce our laws. We shouldn't have people from the UN giving education to our immigration judges in that manner. That is wrong. And I can't name certain immigration judges, but I have had individuals tell me that is what's going on.
And how long do you foresee this happening if nothing is taken in Congress?
I would say as long as President Biden is the president.
And unfortunately, I wish I had more time, but if you do win this primary, I'd like to get you back on Quintin's close-ups. But for now, 1st Congressional District Republican candidate Bill Young, thank you for your time. Again, welcome to Quintin's close-ups.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and appreciate being on.
Thank you.